Well, hi everyone. Sorry about the cliffhanger yesterday. I thought that I could commemorate the 100 days by dyeing my beard, something that I'd never really done before. And I thought I was going to be getting this, hot pink, almost like a neon fuchsia, very saturated, very rich and vivid color. And yeah, no, I ended up with this sort of like a soft baby pink, which, it's still good. I like it, but it's definitely not what I thought was going to get. I just figured that because I have so much white in my beard already that I wouldn't have to like bleach it first and then the color would take. And it could probably just be the quality of the dye that we bought. Maybe it wasn't meant for beard. I don't know anything. Just Jolima was buying one and I thought I'll buy one too. And so sorry about the cliffhanger and sorry that the results are not more exciting. They're really just, it is what it is. So anyway, let's get a little bit into, I guess, more of the logistics of how we're going to go about this new and exciting project that we're calling 200 by 40, where I am going to get to 200 pounds by age 40, which will happen July 21st, 2025. And so now the first thing that I want to talk about is why the weight. And that's something that I was trying to sort of stay away from, or not completely stay away, but I wanted to not put that much emphasis on the actual weight because the weight by itself doesn't really mean anything. The whole goal of what we're trying to do is to become healthier, right? That's the whole point. The whole point is not to lose weight, not to get skinnier. It's just to be healthy, to become healthier. And there are plenty of ways to go about losing weight that are unhealthy. And so I've always tried to maybe stay away from putting too much weight on the actual number on the scale for that reason, because it can also lead to all kinds of mental games that we play with ourselves, and maybe we, in an attempt to hack the system a little bit or to make up for less than ideal habits or behaviors, it might lead to us doing something unhealthy just so that the number on the scale is reflecting what we would like to see. And that's part of the reason why I have wanted to stay away from it. The problem is that measuring health is not as easy as measuring your weight. And that's when it gets really tricky. I guess like if we could get blood work done like every week, or there was another way to measure things, I don't know, like if we could get a DEXA scan every week, and I'm not sure if that's even possible. But if there were other ways to measure that were equally satisfying, equally objective, and something that we could see more in real time the way that we can with the scale, the way we can see weight loss, then that might be a better approach, but okay. Anyway, the point is that if we could do any kind of, more sophisticated testing in a more pragmatic way, something that was a little bit easier to do, then that wouldn't be a problem, but there really isn't. And so that leaves us with fewer options on how to gauge the progress that we're making, at least for someone like me who I think I need some kind of quantifiable thing, just the idea of like, I'm going to stick to my diet for 1 week. Like that doesn't really speak to my heart in that same way. It doesn't provide that inner intrinsic motivation that I need. And so because I want to be able to quantify things, then we're going to be focusing on the number on the scale. As long as we're doing it mindfully, so we're going to be still, using Lumen to track how our metabolism is doing in an attempt to sort of establish the ground rules for this new phase. I decided that as long as we're doing things mindfully and taking care of the overall health and not just the number on the scale, then it's okay to think about that. But that's not the only thing that we're going to be measuring. So let me see if I can get through it. Again, because I'm recording this on my phone and my computer is serving as a monitor to make sure that this is still recording. I don't have my notes, but I'll try to go through it as best as I can. So, as we talked about yesterday, the new plan is called 200 by 40. We're going to get down to 200 pounds by the time I turn 40, which will be July 21st, 2025. And so the way I was able to arrive at that number was by looking at my calorie burning, I guess, how many calories I'm burning per day, I'm using per day. And luckily, since I've been keeping track of my metabolism and using the Oura Ring to measure my caloric burn for the day, I think is what they call it. Now that I'm here in Buenos Aires and I am being a little more active, I am most days meeting my daily activity goal. So I'm being active enough to meet that daily goal that the Oura Ring gives me, and we'll dive into that a little bit more at some point. But now that I'm doing that I'm a little more active, that most days I'm doing some form of exercise, my calorie usage for the day has gone up. And on average for the last week, where I've been meeting my daily activity goal for the most part every day or getting really close to it, I am burning, my average is 3,400 calories per day. I'm a bigger person, so my basal metabolic rate is a certain amount. It's calculated by the ring and my weight and all of that stuff. And then on top of that, I am doing some more exercise, so I'm burning calories on top of my basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate is basically, or BMR, is basically just how many calories your body needs to survive every day, just to keep your organs functioning and all your cellular activity and all the things. And so anything that you burn on top of that through exercise, moving around or anything like that is just extra, right? So I think my basal metabolic rate is somewhere around 2,300 calories. And then on top of that, burning close to 1,000, I guess, through moving around and all that stuff. And so looking at the average for the last few weeks where I've been moving and sort of meeting my daily activity goal, it's around 3,400 calories. That's the total thing. And so we talked about yesterday how if you have a caloric deficit of about 500 per day, that's 3,500, which equals a pound. And so the idea is if I keep my caloric intake somewhere around 2,400, so between 2,200 and 2,400, maybe not, I'm going to try not to go below 2,200 per day and not go above 2,400 per day, should keep me at a caloric deficit of about 1,000. And then based on that, I should technically be able to shed the 1.8 pounds per week that we have as our goal for this project. Let's call it let's just call it for this project, for this new phase. Of course, there's always going to be fluctuations, and I know that your body and metabolism are just masters at adapting to calorie consumption and all that crap. If we try to keep my calories around between 2,200 and 2,400, that should be sufficient for our goal for this. And again, we're going to try to meet our macros as close as possible to what Lumen says, but maintaining total caloric consumption in mind. So it's sort of like a two-punch approach. We're trying to keep our macros aligned with the suggestions based on how my metabolism is doing, but then at the same time, we're going to make sure that we are at a good caloric deficit to make sure that we're meeting the goal that we want. And so getting enough protein to make sure that we are maintaining the muscle, but then at the same time enough caloric restriction that we're losing weight. And that's basically the main way of going about this. That's basically thing number one. Are we, going back to measuring food, and it's obviously very easy not to measure food. It's just, measuring food can be a bit of a hassle, and so making sure that we're measuring and try to get it close as possible. And I get a little obsessed with it, a little obsessive with it, making sure that everything is like tracked perfectly. And this will be also an exercise for me to try to, not get too obsessive with the process. But as long as we are getting, decent approximations, that should be fine. So that is basically the main point as far as nutrition goes. We're going to be focusing again on the proper kinds of foods. So reevaluating once again what we're eating, measuring now to make sure that we are, because the thing is that without measuring, at least right now, I'm still so new to everything that I still don't have an idea of what things look like. Like what's a serving of chicken, and like how many grams of protein that has in it. And it's very easy to over or underestimate. And so measuring is just the best way to go about this. As far as nutrition goes, that's that. We're going to be measuring, making sure that we're getting all our macros, placing importance on protein intake, making sure that we're consuming enough protein, but then at the same time making sure that we're staying under our calorie allowance for the day, make sure that we are getting good caloric deficit. And that should take care of that portion. Now, how are we going to be measuring the weight, making sure that we are on track, if you will? I created a little chart that basically tells me there are 61 weeks in this thing that we're trying to do. So, basically tomorrow, Monday, would be week 1. And then, down from there until my 40th birthday, which would be week 61. And so we are starting, just to make it nice and round. I know that I haven't weighed myself in a few days, but I'm probably a little bit under 310 if things haven't gone haywire. But we're going to start, basically 310 pounds is going to be our starting point, right? And so for week 1, the goal is for the average is to be 310 pounds, right? So this coming week, that's the goal. And then the following week will be 1.8 below. I mean, the table has it figured out so that it's like exact. So it's not exactly 1.8, but it's 1 point whatever, a little bit more, I guess. But basically, the idea is for the average weight of the week, to be around that number. So we're starting next week with 310. That should be our average for the week. And then we're going to keep going forward, week after week. Now, other than weighing myself, the other thing that I'm going to do is continuing to track my body measurements with the crazy Sozo suit. Sozo Fit. I still can't remember the fucking name, but anyway, I am going to be using that as a way to measure my body, right? So something that we saw, I believe it was last week. For the last few weeks, the scale hadn't moved that much, but my measurements had contracted a little bit, which means that we were gaining muscle, we were losing fat. And so that's another way for us to gauge how things are moving. And at least we're getting more than just a number on the scale. We are getting a different way of measuring if we're making any progress by seeing like if my body is getting a little bit smaller, which it should if I'm losing weight. And if I'm losing weight in the right way, I should be losing fat and gaining some muscle, and we should start to see it. But basically, those are the two things that we're going to be using in terms of measuring what's going on, in terms of the weight. A couple other things that I'm going to be focusing on, and I'm thinking of creating some kind of way to keep these stats posted somewhere for anyone who might be interested. I'm definitely interested. I think it'll help me to see it somewhere. Centralized, because like right now I have things in different apps and stuff, but it would be interesting to have a centralized way of looking at it that is see how gauge how we're, if we're making any progress or how we're doing with that. So I'm thinking about doing that. But the other things that I'm going to be looking at is, in terms of exercise, for now, we're staying with the status quo, which is we're doing our workouts Monday and Friday, right? So that stays the same. Those are like our strength training. That's when we're doing weight, right? We're trying to build some muscle there. And so we're going to stick with those. Also, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're still going to be doing ping pong. It's sort of recreational, but then at the same time, it's good cardio. It's a good sort of like low to mid level sustained activity, which is always good. And then, like as far as like concerted efforts for exercise. And then the other thing is we are going to try to meet our daily activity goal. So again, I'll say it again for those of you who haven't heard me talk about this before, but basically the Oura Ring, which is sort of like one of those like fitness trackers that you wear on your wrists, just that this one is actually charging right now, so that's why I don't have it on my finger. But it's basically a ring that's a fitness tracker, and based on how I'm sleeping and my activity levels and my heart rate and how it assesses my body is feeling, it'll give me a daily activity goal. It's hard to say. It'll give me a daily activity goal. So if my body is feeling ill, like today, it will give me like a lower activity goal. Like maybe you shouldn't push yourself so hard today. You didn't sleep that well last night. Or if you've had good sleep and everything is going well, then it'll give you even more. I think my baseline right now is about 500 active calories. So as long as I'm moving around and doing any kind of exercise that amounts to 500 active calories, like that's my daily activity goal. But if I'm in a particular day, I'm feeling good, or like it senses that my body's feeling good based on my heart rate and my heart rate variability, how I slept last night, like all of those things, it'll give me even more. So the idea is to meet the daily activity goal and to get to the average, again, because not every single day can be perfect. If we can get to the average for the week to be 100% of my daily activity goal, that's perfect. And now 100% is just the baseline, because if on a day, let's say that today it gives me, because I'm feeling sick, only 300 active calories, and then I do 500, I went over my 100%. If I'd only done 300, that's 100%. Anything that I do over, it gives me like 120%, 150%, whatever. If I'm at baseline because I'm feeling good on a particular day and it's at 500 and I do 600, again, that's giving me extra, it's more than 100%. And if I only do like 480 or 400 instead of 500, then it's less than 100%. So if one day I have a little bit less than 100%, another day I have a little more than 100%, then they even out to about 100%. So something that we're going to be aiming for more consciously is to get to 100% average for the week in terms of the daily activity goal. The other thing that I'm going to be looking into, and again, all of these things, I'm thinking of a way to just put them somewhere so that you guys have access to them. And I don't know, just the visual reminder of it can be powerful to think about, or to be able to see it and have you motivate it. Have you motivate you, or have me motivate me. Same. And the other thing is, again, I'm going to be focusing on sleep. I have been very inconsistent with my sleep, especially with going to bed and waking up at different times. So I am going to be making a very concerted effort, and it really is difficult for me. I am a night owl. I mean, like even the fucking Oura Ring says, you're a night owl, you're a night person. And so it is difficult for me to go to bed at too early a time, but I am going to be making a bigger effort, a more focused effort to give myself 9 hours in bed, which is basically what I, over the years, have seen that I need in order to get to 8 hours of actual sleep. And so I'm going to try to sleep between 11 p.m. or I'm going to try to be in bed between 11 p.m. and 8 a.m. So what I'm thinking is starting tomorrow, I'll set an alarm at like 10:30 p.m. to start getting ready to go to bed, and then maybe be in bed with my CPAP and everything ready at 11 and see if I can sleep from 11 to 8 and sort of force myself to do that and see if it sticks for a little while. So those are the things that we're measuring more specific. Oh, and blood pressure. I'm going to continue because my blood pressure has been elevated. I am taking medication for my blood pressure. And so we want to make sure that that is working and that my blood pressure is staying. High blood pressure is so bad. It just causes so much damage around the body. So yeah, and that is basically it. We're going to be adjusting to it this week. This week that is starting tomorrow, we're going to try to adjust to everything that's all the changes that are coming. There might be an adjustment period. I know with the food, getting back to tracking and being more mindful, it always activates my crazy a little bit because, again, I'm such a black and white person. I have a difficult time staying in the gray, and so it's like, okay, we're doing this again, and it's going to get a little intense. But I'm going to try my best to keep it as even-keeled as possible. The other thing that's starting tomorrow that I'm excited about, and it's interesting because someone mentioned it in the comments, and I think that you guys could probably see it and I could probably see it. I am going back to therapy. We talked about this, but then tomorrow night is my first session. And again, you guys are getting this a week later, but it's interesting to see that you guys are seeing what I'm feeling, and in a way, it's good that I am communicating that and that you guys can see that, because someone was, I literally finally, there was also a little bit of logistics involved in trying to figure out a therapist and, making sure that they had availability. And it's not like you decide to go to therapy and then the next moment you have a therapist. It can be a difficult thing to finally decide to go to therapy, and then the process of finding a therapist, scheduling your first session, and all of that stuff. But it's just interesting to see, because when I was filming those videos and I was feeling like, okay, I'm ready, I gotta go back to therapy. I need some extra help with this, with this situation. And fast forward a week later, I'm finally going through the process. I have a therapist. I booked my first appointment, and then those videos are coming out, and somebody is suggesting it in the comments. So I just think it's brilliant that's we all seem to be in tune in terms of understanding this process. And so I'm excited because tomorrow is going to be my first session, and yeah, that's also going to be playing an important role in this new phase. Because I have been wanting to do it for a while now. I've done tons of therapy I wouldn't say tons, but I've done a few years of therapy in the past. And then for logistical reasons, I stopped. And then I tried to do it during the pandemic, but this was before there was a lot of the therapists that I'd worked with in the past didn't really feel that virtual therapy was the way to go. And so there wasn't really an option, but now things have really changed after the pandemic. Anyway, I have been wanting to get back to therapy. I've been thinking about it since last year. And then finally, this was the moment I said, okay, I got to pull the trigger. We got to do this. We're doing it. And so very interesting to see. So that'll be it's also something that's going to play an important role in this new approach. We'll see, as I work with my therapist, if there are any suggestions as to how to continue tweaking this approach and making sure that we're doing it right. But that is basically it, you guys. I'm going to leave it at that for today, and then tomorrow we're going to get started with our workout and sort of see if we can take the day from there. We just keep moving. I'm excited. Sorry, I'm not, my excitement is not as outwardly noticeable because I am feeling pretty sick. So I'm going to try to take it really slow today as much as I can. And get back to it. But see if I can feel a little bit better tomorrow. But I'm excited. I really am. Sorry, my enthusiasm is not very noticeable at the moment, but I am. Thank you guys for being here. Exciting things are coming. It's going to be an interesting week as we figure out these things. I want to figure out another component of this. Like, I don't know if it can be like a little website or a little something that has some of this information that we want to display. And yeah, we keep moving forward with this. All right, see you guys tomorrow.